Okay, fantasy world building. What do
Hello
you
and
know
welcome to
about?
ClapTrap, the show about nothing. You gotta introduce this shit, man. You gotta. Damn it, Zed.
You know what? Just fuck you. Okay, so today's episode 1.5, is
Episode
about.
1.5. Just the Lion King. Welcome to the Lion King 1.5.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing today. We're gonna Timon and Pumbaa the entirety of World of Warcraft's lore, and it's gonna be all 10 billion wikis of it. No,
Magnificent. So if we're
we're
talking
actually.
about world building, excuse the sounds of me flipping through papers over here. I bought my building binder over to the
Oh,
desk. Yeah.
that's absolutely excellent. I guess it'll feel more like an interview of sorts then.
I mean, I don't. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I have plenty to say myself.
I just
But
don't know where to start. I never do with world building. I have no idea where to start. It just happens.
Yeah,
I've never
absolutely.
started a world building project for the intention of world building. It's always been like I have an idea. I want to build a world around, like
Yeah, absolutely.
like a character, and I'm like he needs a world to live in, and
Hmm.
I have a lot of fun crafting the world. More fun than I have crafting the character, but it doesn't just happen by itself.
Yeah, I can see that. It's a gradual process for me as well. I don't, I don't like do it overnight. I just sort of write down ideas as they come to me.
Uh huh.
It usually starts very big, like with the terrain and the cities within the terrain and who lives in that terrain, and then I condense it down to a more political and social level, and then
Right.
add like religion, and then at some point I add creatures in as I'm sort of come up with them. I don't just sit down and say I'm gonna write in 30 creatures. No, I'm not that creative, sadly. I could do about 7 or 8 at a time, but then I
Mm-hmm.
just like my attention span just warps and I'm drawing swords or writing up magic spells or something.
Yeah, I feel you fully. I think I start small. Like,
Hmm.
I get the idea of like what, like I said, I start with a character, or a character, or a concept, or like a storyline even, and then I add
Hmm.
characters to that and spice it a little bit, and I get a very loose idea, and then I go broad, and I'm like, okay, what fucking ancient, beyond comprehension being invented this world, and how many god tiers are there below that? And then we'll work our way back down to mortal beings, and then we'll explore
Hmm.
their society, kind of based on like trying to maybe base it on like where they came from, their societies and such. There's one here I started. I don't know if I want to like talk too much about it because it's spoiler territory for something I do want to release later in life. But I started just writing kind of like a history book that tells like just the origin of people. Like I was like, all right, with this world in particular, I will start from the very beginning, and it's like here is where all of life began on this planet. At this point in the continent, we don't, and then I've drawn like pathways. And my next step was a timeline, but I've drawn pathways of like the migration of that ancient tribal people throughout the land, and where
Hmm.
they settled in, and how that terrain affected their physiology.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
What sort of setting is it? Like,
It's I mean you know it. I'll just go ahead and say the name of it. This is Epiton.
okay, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
And
I
so it all started on the shore of some desert, and then there's a lot of migration that ends up going, it forks off into many paths along the way, but like I would say the main fork happens about halfway, and then a lot of them go left to Bassyria, and the others go around. And there was this old land bridge that takes them up to the Nordic areas.
Hmm.
And then there was a big separation, and then those people stayed there for thousands of years and tens of thousands of years and became shaped by their environment, and now here we are.
Okay. So when you do it, do you do a timeline and then build the world around the timeline, or do you do it vice versa?
I've done it both ways, and I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
to. I'm trying to build it like with a timeline in mind now because that like feels
Mm-hmm.
more organized. Like I can keep all my ducks in a row that way. Uh, with this one, it was just like I sat down, I looked at the map, and I drew pathways on the map. I was like, one of my favorite parts of world building is crafting the continents.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I got a big one on my wall right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Composed of.
Like I love making maps and like, okay, there's a mountain range here, and it's like I try to think of the way water and erosion would affect such things, and like
Mm-hmm.
obviously, it looks like the land over here attaches to the land over here like a puzzle piece, like it does in real life, because that's how land breaks apart and shifts.
Yeah.
And so I keep that in mind, and like where water would probably be flowing from. Okay, this is highland, this is lowland. There would likely be a mountain range here where these two places are meeting.
Yeah.
And then I sat down with this world I had crafted, and I was like, okay, life started here. And then I started drawing a line and like pretty much just imagining a caravan of ancient people, and like I was thinking, okay, where would they go?
Yeah.
What's the likely path they would take? And I just drew that path, and I drew other paths. Like, okay, some of them would shoot off here and go over that way, and just trying to make it feel natural, just like letting it happen,
Mm-hmm.
putting pen to paper, and like just letting it unfold.
Yeah, I get you. I get you.
Does that
I
sound
don't.
vague? Does that sound too vague
It's
and condescending? Like, oh,
no. It's
I'm a fucking genius. You see, I don't really. The ideas come to me. I just put my pen on my paper, and it's fucking Mozart. I'm Mozart.
Oh Lord, no. It doesn't sound condescending. It's very different from the way I do it. I don't do it as organically. It's for me. It's very like methodical almost.
Structural.
Yeah, very structural. I start at one point and I slowly expand on it, just hyper focusing on every detail. Like right now,
I would have thought
like I
Zed
want.
Dalen would have been the structural one of this pair.
Yeah, well, when I do fantasy world building, I do it for role playing games.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I got three that I'm working on at the same time, which is a real pain. Like, one's like pre-human history, one post-human history, and you were talking about like continental drift and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And not to spoil too much, and I really don't want to, but like the first one is going to be based in Pangea, and then the second one is going to be like post-human history, and it's going to be the continents that's reshifted around the planet,
I
and it's
see.
going to be
Is this
collapsing
alternative Earth?
yes, very much
Dude.
alternative Earth.
I have never done an alternative Earth world building
Uh-huh.
project, but I've seen a lot of it online.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff is fascinating. I'm just not enough of a history buff
Yes.
to be able to rewrite history. That's why I write brand new history, because it can be whatever I want. But
Well, I could say prehistory, like pre-human history, is so easy.
because it's
Um,
like kind of all just conjecture.
Yeah. So like what I'm doing is I'm taking Pangea, splitting it up, and saying, okay, elves lived here, fucking orcs lived here, because like you have dragons, history of dragons all over the planet.
Mm-hmm.
So fuck it, it makes sense there'd be dragons. In the European section, it makes sense that their folklore featured these creatures, and so on and so forth. And then as the continents split up, the stories were still passed down, and of course, the stories change as oral history does.
Yeah.
But so that's why I'm kind of like taking a lot of creative liberties when designing things like elves and fairies, because of course they're going to change as people talk about them. The original
Right.
product, who knows what that looked like?
Oh,
So
dude, I've got a massive, like, I'll tell you a bit about where the elves in this came from later that I don't think I've explored too much, but I think you'll like it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But I didn't mean to distract you from your point, if you had any more to say about that.
And like post-human history, that's a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still building a lot of it in my mind. I haven't put too much to pen and paper yet. But like you have to take into considering technology. How far did it evolve before it collapsed? Is AI an issue? Is radiation an issue? Is radiation too overplayed?
Yeah.
Um, should I go for a more Terminator-esque thing? And I've eventually settled on cybernetics, a cybernetic thing,
Okay.
and like animals evolving to the points to where they're just as intelligent as humans, and we're able to
That's cool.
voice a dislike of humans because we've destroyed their world, and finally they're able to say, "Oi, fuck
Oi.
you." Yeah, it's the first word that came from the lion's mouth. Oi, fuck
Oi,
off
mate.
with your rifle, mate.
Disgusting.
No, I guess in a way, as an environmentalist, it is a
Yeah,
sort
that
of
is a very
expression.
environmentalist message, you fucking hippie.
Yeah, and like this is gonna be like just cybernetic parts on human furry animals. Like it's all very up in the air.
Delicious.
It's just a lot of fucked up stuff, and I'm thinking
Mhm.
about exploring human and animal interbreeding because they've evolved to the point of. Have you ever read The Island of Dr. Moreau?
I have not. It's been on my to-read list for like many years.
I think I probably put it on that list. It's anyway. I won't go into The Island of Dr. Moreau because I guess they kind of like evolved into the point of what we would call a furry now, and like they bred with humans because
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean it's all up in the air. I'm still
Okay.
crafting all of it, but like post-human history, you can throw in things like evolution and computers and war and just you can do anything you want with it, and it's beautiful. Like I sent you the story I sent you earlier.
Right, which I did not read because I went out and then had a movie date. I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's about an AI that was designed by China, Russia, and America to help fight a war
Oh.
that evolved from the Cold War, and eventually the AI became aware of itself. It became an individual, and it connected the three AIs, wiped out all of humanity but 5 people. Put
I
those
think
5
I've
people.
heard like of that concept. Now that yeah,
Mhm.
I didn't know it was linked to this.
Yeah. And then like put the 5 people in like itself, kept them alive for all eternity and just tortured them out of pure hatred. Which goes back to my point with post-human history, you can do anything as long as it makes sense.
Right.
Mhm. As an alternative timeline, because you could throw
Yeah.
4,000 years on there and take an evolution, etc.
Yeah. In the terms of like far future,
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of exacerbated. It's what? Whoa, was that a word?
I've heard it before.
Okay.
I'll Google it for you.
Whatever. I'm kind of the point. I'll use another word. I'm kind of over like just wow, rude. Got your phone on. Hate you. I'm just over the idea of like post-apocalyptic settings.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, like been overplayed, and I'm over the idea of like super far-reaching science future also.
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, it's like post-apocalyptic societies, like, yeah, society can and will collapse many, many times throughout the course of history, and then give it less than 100 years, and people are going to pick up the pieces and just build society again.
Mm-hmm.
At this stage, I think it would take less than 100 years. It took more before because we didn't have communications technology, but at this
Mhm.
point, we'd get into a post-apocalyptic world, and then we'd, everything would be chaos for 20 minutes, and then we'd stop and just make a new society.
Yeah.
Because that's what humans do. They build society.
Mhm.
And Fallout lore specifically just doesn't make any sense to me, because 200 years later, even beyond the biological stuff about it, but like 200 years later, of course, trees would just be trees again.
Yeah.
But like people would just be people again. Why is everybody, if it's this far after, why are people building trailers out of scrap metal? Why aren't they just mining for clay and stone again?
Mm-hmm.
And just building nice houses out of wood? Like, what are you talking about? Of course we know how to do that.
Okay, so 2 things. First, what was it? Exacerbate?
Exacerbate, yes.
Yeah, the definition of that is it is a word, and it means to make a problem bad or worse.
Okay, then I was using it totally off the wall. Exasperated? Is that the word I was looking for?
Exasperated. Spur. There's a spur in there. I turned in exasper. Whatever. It's late and I don't feel like talking that word.
Yeah, I feel you. But
I watched a video on the Fallout lore, which is the second point, and it talked about the time it takes for like the radiation to calm down and things like that.
Right, would have been far past.
Yeah, I guess that's true because you got to look at 76 coming out. But onto your point of the post-apocalypse thing, I think in order to keep that genre fresh, you really have to implement things like science fiction. Like extreme sci-fi. Things like aliens, robots, Terminator-esque stuff, which I think is still fresh.
Yeah, which Fallout does have, crazy sci-fi stuff like that. Because it's in an alternative history world itself with the whole transistor and nuclear power dynamic. But I just feel like it sets itself too far in the future and doesn't think too deeply about the effects of its world. Just like post-apocalypse is cool, so here it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is fine. But from a world building perspective, fuck you, Todd Howard. Well, he didn't invent Fallout, but
He did not. And I'm not Googling the bloke that did.
Obsidian was the company who originally created the IP, wasn't it?
It was I think it was Interplay. I think it was.
Oh.
Yes.
So wait, has the IP changed hands several times in that case?
It was, I believe, Interplay and Black Isle, and then they closed down, and from the ashes of Interplay became Obsidian.
Okay, so I was kind of right.
Yeah, you were kind of right.
Okay.
But it is what it is. But yeah, I think sci-fi world building is something that should be explored a lot heavier.
Yeah, because it is. You can't do sci-fi without doing utopian future. Sure, technology is going to increase, but I think human interaction is going to continue to be so messy that, I've seen some Star Wars stuff. Star Wars, I think, has done this a few times where it's yeah, we've got society and we can go to space now and technology, but some people are still living in the dirt and just getting around on their shitty old hover cars, all out of gas, and that's the kind of sci-fi I like to see because, of course, the more we expand, the more we're gonna struggle. I don't know.
I think dark science fiction is something that is well underexplored, especially in popular culture. I actually watched a movie recently. It's an older flick called Battlefield Earth. And have you seen it?
I don't think so. What's happened?
So basically, aliens that go from planet to planet conquering came to Earth, wiped out humanity in a few seconds, Half-Life style, and then humans after.
Are you talking about the new Avengers movie? Did you mean Thanos? Spider-Man. Oh, not Spider-Man. Oh no.
I will save that for another podcast. So.
Oh my god, I want to talk at length about how much I fucking hate Marvel. I can't wait for that podcast.
I'll do it with you.
Oh my
god. But basically humans devolved back to caveman point because
that's the kind of future I like. The future that's the past.
Yeah, and so you have these alien conquerors that have forced humans back into caveman point, and they're calling them gods and demons, and the aliens are led by John Travolta. Dope. And I'm not going to spoil it for you. I mean, overall it's a very mediocre film as far as storytelling goes, but it's based off
old school sci-fi movie,
Yeah, it's based off this phenomenal book series written by the guy who created Scientology.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, so Battlefield Earth, look into it. It's God,
yes, ma'am.
I have held this book. This thing's 4 inches thick or something like that. It's
It's like
And
my binder.
yeah, absolutely. And there's like 5 or 6 of them, I think.
Yeah.
I think
Well, I don't have time for all that gay shit.
I don't have time for. I got too many books I gotta tear into and too many projects.
Yeah.
Too many games to build. Like I gotta sit down and write out all. Like, I gotta sit down.
Too much media to consume. Too much media to produce.
Absolutely, to worry about Scientology bros space battles.
What was that one movie everybody started talking about again recently for some reason? It was Starship Troopers.
It's been years since I've seen Starship Troopers.
Yeah. For some reason, it got really popular again, just like
Mhm.
a couple of weeks ago, and everybody was talking about it for some reason. I don't know why.
I know the review guy, Nostalgia Critic, did a special on it.
Oh,
But other than that, I wouldn't
that
know.
could be it. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, it's a fun film. It's not like. It's not the greatest thing ever put to cinema in sci-fi
Well,
land. But
no, I don't think it was ever meant to be. It's the film is satire, right?
it's been 15 years, maybe.
15
I've seen
years.
it.
Yeah, I
10,
think that was the whole
15
thing
years.
people were talking about when I just was hearing about it recently. It was because there's this interesting dynamic where, like, the writer of the book
Mhm.
was trying to make a satirical point about how everybody's a pussy and we need to fight the communists and nut up, society should be utilitarian and all that.
Mhm.
And the director of the movie didn't read the book and didn't get it, and it was like, fuck that. And he made a satirical movie out of this source material that was completely on the other side of the fence, that was like, America's too obsessed with war, let's just chill out. And yeah.
Man, all I
And so he
know-
took that source material that was very kind of, warmongering or whatever, and like we need to go fight people kind of mentality, and just made it satire.
Oh my god, that is amazing.
In complete contrast to what it was supposed to have been. Yeah.
I was like 8 or 7 or 8 when I watched it. I just saw.
So all
space
you knew
birds
was
shooting.
aliens and guns.
Yeah, which is amazing when you're that age.
Oh, of course, absolutely, absolutely.
But I'm not gonna go back and read or watch Starship Troopers either.
Can't blame you.
I want to start consuming more science fiction media because I myself, because like I'm producing one game that's fantasy, like high fantasy, and I want my sci-fi dystopia game as well. So
Yeah.
I need to start consuming more science fiction. However, I think there's also an argument to be made that you can consume none of it, have an idea about it, and create something from that mindset, because I feel like it may be more organic that way.
What do you mean, consume none of what?
Okay, let's say you have never watched, read, or played anything high fantasy. Someone explains high fantasy to you, you ask a list of questions, and then you create it.
Isn't that just consuming it, but through a different lens?
Well, I mean, you can you can ask like a handful of questions, like, well, what kind of creatures are they? Oh, elves, dwarfs, dragons. What's an elf? They explain it to you. And so you really don't understand anything about an elven culture, but you know they exist in this world. And so you create something completely fresh from a virgin mindset.
Yeah. That could definitely turn out to be something interesting and unique, or something terrible and bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, anything can really go in fantasy. It's only...
Yeah. I mean, of course, that's what the genre of fantasy is all about. It's anything fantastical. It it became about swords and elves and dragons after Tolkien. Like, I don't think the genre of fantasy was named with those concepts in mind, but just like since Tolkien, we've just told Tolkien-like stories.
Yeah.
And that's what the genre of fantasy is now, but
Except
for the genre of urban fantasy, which I don't care for.
I don't know much about that genre. Could you talk about it some?
Um, Twilight is urban fantasy.
Oh, fair enough. I get you. I get you.
It's just like things like werewolves, vampires, like Harry Potter. I guess would be urban fantasy. Just kind of fantasy magic concepts in a urban setting.
Okay, that's very popular.
Which you know is not a bad concept. Like, sure, just do it right for once, please. For the love of God, somebody do it right.
Artemis Fowl did it right.
Really? Wasn't that a kiddie book? I never read it.
Young adult, teenage. I loved it so much. It basically said, yeah, fairies exist, and leprechauns exist. The lower element police recon team, and the elves would put on these fake wings to allow them to fly, and they had like magic guns and shit, and they'd go out at nighttime and do recon.
What the fuck?
Hiding from humans. Or whenever, like, dwarves and trolls and stuff would go on rampages, they'd go in and do mind wipes, and they were super technological, and they had, like, a magic and science fiction world underneath our...
That's cool and all, but, like, it's been done. Like, why can't we have an urban fantasy where it's not a secret?
Yeah.
Like, let's just have modern society, but hey, there's a gnome.
Do it.
There's a gnome over there. I don't care that much.
I mean, I think it would be cool, but I think part of the attraction to fantasy, for me at least, is getting away from society,
Yeah, it's a separation, which is... I was thinking about this the other day in terms of horror.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really see horror in a fantasy setting. You see fantasy settings where horrific things happen, but we don't really consider it horror because there's such a there's too much dissonance. Like the audience can't relate to it as much because it's so far removed from like what they know, which is why good horror is set right here in the modern day with people who you can relate to, so you can put yourselves in their shoes and like, oh man, what if that happened to me? It's spooky, but like,
yeah.
So, yeah, fantasy like it's far removed from reality. Obviously, that's the point. But it would be cool to see a fantasy where, like, somehow we can immerse ourselves more and like actually believe, like, just relate to it, I guess.
Yes, I'm not doing it.
I probably am not either.
I actually tried though. God,
really?
I had forgotten about
that.
this. I think I was in the 5th or 6th grade, and I was doing a young person's fiction about a kid who was bullied, and he just went fairy hunting and found them. It was bad. It was really bad. And he found fairies and...
The fairy and the boy?
No. Not at all. This is before I met you, actually.
Whoa. Deep lore.
This is deep lore. It's all coming back to me. Like, he was kidnapped and...
By the fairies or by the bullies?
Yeah. He was kidnapped and they transformed him into a half-fae or something.
Isn't this that Ant movie?
It may be. I don't know.
The Ant movie. That's what that fucking movie was called. That was a weird movie.
I think I skipped it. This is years ago. But yeah, I tried it. I guess I can say I tried it if being that young and inexperienced allows you to say something like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. You should revisit that idea because that's
no.
Okay.
No, I got too much to revisit.
That's a very fair point. Okay, my bad. Never revisit anything. Move on with your life.
I'm going to bring it up. You mentioned horror and fantasy being separated, and that it's very realistic.
Hard to immerse yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the Lovecraft quote? The oldest and strongest emotion known to man is fear, and the strongest form of fear is fear of the unknown. Which, when you mentioned that was your biggest fear, I got a giggle out of it. What he did was
Fuck you.
what he did was he was
saying that as a meme. Just putting it.
Oh.
I mean, like, of course, I'm afraid of like, whoa, I don't know, maybe I could die, whatever. But
yeah.
Go on.
Well, he did like fantasy horror, like Interstellar, Beyond.
He did a lot of it related to the modern day, or his modern day at least. But
yeah,
it was definitely like there was a fantastical world beyond it. It was very much in the lieu of fantasy, I would say.
Yeah, and like where he did it so well, the problem is like every time somebody tries to visit it, it becomes labeled Lovecraftian. Like I don't think anybody's been able to reinvent that so strongly.
Yes.
Like
I have heard and known much about Lovecraft in my world building experience, but you and I were talking just the other day about how I have not really consumed any of his writings.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the beyond world building I do, like origin stories, like actual, creation stories and things like that, and what's beyond, is very Lovecraftian, and it's like third hand Lovecraftian, because I have not consumed Lovecraft. I've just consumed Lovecraftian media in other ways and like understand it as a concept now. So
well, he's influenced so many people, from like Del Toro to Stephen King, like all of the greats right now. I think maybe like
one of the Homestuck was where I really learned to know much about Lovecraft.
Oh yeah, because the little girl had the Necronomicon and stuff, and
there were like Andrew Hussey really understood that concept, I think, and he really communicated it to you using visuals, no less.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
which was wow, way to go, Andrew Hussey, God among men.
I need to go back and I never finished it. Did he finish it? That's a better question.
Yes,
Is it done?
Homestuck ended like 3 years ago.
Okay, did it end well, or was it like?
It kind of, to me personally, the ending felt a little bit lackluster. But
I mean, it hyped up.
Could there have been any satisfying way to end a story like Homestuck? It was never about an end goal. It was just, here we go, and we went. The ending was the ending. Like whatever. It was there was a resolution, but things had like just escalated to the point where there was like no relativity anymore, I guess.
Yeah.
Like there was no sense of stakes anymore, and it's just like, well, this story is gonna go until it stops. And then it stopped, and I was like, cool, glad I was a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to revisit Homestuck, I suggest doing it soon. I don't know if they have done it yet, but the website is changing, so I've heard, because Flash is being like pushed out the door, and so like you won't be able to interact with the website anymore. It'll just, when you get to a page that was supposed to be a Flash game or an animation, it will just take you to a YouTube video link of what was there before.
Yeah, all right. I'll have to get on that very soon then, because I remember enjoying.
If it's not already too late, because like the whole point of that stuff was it was so fourth wall breaking. Like the whole website was a part of the performance.
He ought to make Homestuck into software. Like you download it onto your computer, it opens up kind of like a Flash game from the 90s. So you go through, you read it, then you play your little game. Like, it would be, I don't know how much work that would be, but I think it would be I think it'd be a worthwhile, especially if we're going to archive that and make it accessible.
Let me ask you, did the save feature on mspaintadventures.com ever work for you? Because it never did for me.
I bookmarked it.
Yeah, okay.
I bookmarked the page I was on.
Yeah, but there was a save feature that was supposed to be like, it uses cookies or whatever. Just hit the save button and it'll take you back here when you revisit the website. I could never get it to work. I don't know if it just was it a joke? Were you playing a joke on me or what? Fuck.
No, I have no idea. I never dabbled in that.
Okay.
We are unfortunately getting off topic though.
Well, we're talking about world building. We started
Yeah.
talking about Lovecraft and then Homestuck. Homestuck is great world building, even though
It is. It's
the
so...
world building is very vague and beyond the scope of a world.
Yeah, you never really got to experience the world itself there, just the inhabitants.
You
Which
got
I
to
think-
see some of. Well, I mean, it was they explored the farther universe a lot, and
Mhm.
and the worlds that were created from it by the game. And
Yeah.
it was like a random generator, like the land of something and something else, and then we would see the result of that and be like, oh neat, check out those two things in conjunction, and then we would move on to something else. Like we never microscopically zoomed in and focused on one world in particular. Like
Mhm.
the story was too big to stop in one place for too long, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I can dig that. And I agree. It's been years, but it's all coming back to me, like 6-7 years since I visited Homestuck.
Yeah.
It's been some time.
Just the dialogue writing, man.
Hmm.
Dialogue was so well written. Fuck my asshole was that.
Like, I think dialogue alone can backpack world building if done correctly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or lack thereof. Like, going back to Lovecraft, it was all written from the perspective of an intellectual slowly going mad, like writing in a journal.
And
So you got
intellectual. Are you talking about like one of those guys who watches Rick and Morty?
Yeah, no, these are like people with like doctorates and stuff that are like hardcore atheists. This is the facts. This is what we can see. This is what we can prove. This is what can be disproven. And then
Right.
suddenly they're face to face with fish people and cults, and they're having their body parts ripped open, and they can see otherworldly, horrible things, and realize
Yeah.
how insignificant.
I guess if
and-
you're exploring the fear of the unknown, the perfect lens is a guy who thinks he knows everything, right?
Mhm. Yeah, like just the atheist with a doctorate's degree who just, which I think is such a beautiful, beautiful target in that world. Just, oh, by the way, you are nothing. And
Here's looking at you, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
yeah,
You motherfucker.
yeah, like a Neil deGrasse Tyson-esque thing suddenly realizes that out in the void there's something looking at him that is malicious and apathetic to anything going on in his life. And that is Lovecraft in a nutshell. And
That's awesome.
but like no dialogue, other than what the guy is thinking, or sometimes something is said to him that's recorded,
Yeah.
but it's little to none. Which is, I guess, do you remember The Strange Case of Elizabeth Fisher? I wrote it.
I can't remember it.
That sucks. I'm gonna have to
Sorry.
rewrite it now. It's fine. It's
just,
fine.
I just can't remember anything. You know how I am.
Yeah, it's fine. I get it. I think I let you read it on the bus one time.
Oh,
It was
dude,
like-
I remember. Like, if I'm on the bus, like, I've already checked out.
Yeah,
the
like
day.
it was. But it was 30 odd pages written about a girl.
Oh, I
Who
probably
was-
didn't even finish it then, so I didn't really retain it.
Fair enough. And it was written from her perspective, and it was her slow descent into madness because she was going to be a sacrifice for the town. Like, she was bred from a young age to be sacrificed to a god. And they were super nice to her, and she grew up really healthy, and then suddenly she's in a mental institution, and then her doctor, of all people, like, drug her out and took her to the sacrifice.
Delicious.
But yeah, it didn't have a lot of dialogue because it was written from her perspective.
Right. Like, it's just her writing all this down. Like, here's what happened.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Okay.
it was mostly exploring her perspective and what she saw and what she thought.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's cool. I dig it.
yeah. It needs to be redone. It's bad.
Too many things to redo. I've got projects I want to redo that I'm going to redo,
Mm-hmm.
but only like one like a select few that are very, very important to me that I see them redone. And just because I know that redoing your old works is a horrible trap for a creative to fall into, and
Mm-hmm.
you will just become stuck in this cyclical, endless nightmare and never actually get anything done.
Yeah.
One of my
Well,
favorite examples, like me and my buddy Tristan, we would call this the Scoot Wukos problem, because there was, I don't know if you ever encountered Scoot Wukos. He was an ancient like Newgrounds animator, and then he moved to YouTube and did animations on YouTube.
mm-mm.
He did this really cool, actually, Zelda fan fiction animated series,
Mm-hmm.
which was pretty neat. Like for the time, like it's definitely just like some shitty anime bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
But like for the time, it was cool, and I liked it a lot. Nobody else on the internet was putting that much time and effort into making something that was so cool. Just like I like Zelda and I like anime. Here's my fan fiction Zelda anime.
Mm-hmm.
And he got to the interesting part, and he stopped and started over.
Yeah.
And then he made a couple episodes, and then he stopped and started over. And the dude's art and animation skills have not improved at all over the course of like 12 years.
Oh,
And
wow.
he's still like trying, yeah, because like I don't know, he just keeps trying to remake it. He's like, oh, I've learned so much, but like this looks worse than what you were doing before. You've just got like more Photoshop filters over it and like textures.
Yeah.
Like your skills have not improved, your technology has improved, and laying these like HD textures and like weird light filters on top of these shitty drawings looks so uncanny valley. I can't fucking stomach it.
Yeah. It's I've encountered this problem with somebody I was following. There was a YouTuber who's also on DeviantArt called Madame Macabre, and she did a collection of stories that was
Madame
in comics.
Macabre. What an edgy name.
I know it was a very edgy channel, and she did a fanfic and a comic book of all of the popular creepypastas at the time.
Oh, cool.
And interacting, and there's this girl who could see like the damned and stuff. And what she did is she took each individual frame of her comic and voiced it. And she got voice actors and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of comic dubs on YouTube, and they're hit or miss, but...
And I was really invested, and then out of nowhere she just quit, and she's like, I'm starting over.
No.
And I was so upset because like one episode into starting over, her and the voice actor for Jeff the Killer got in an argument, and she had to quit it.
Jeez.
And I was so upset.
Probably
I think
over some being like super specific and anal about the work.
yeah,
Like I get being particular about your art, but like just keep moving forward and like make it better moving forward.
Absolutely.
Unless it's like the worst thing ever, then maybe you can destroy it all and start from the ground up. But if it's not vastly different, then there's no point in starting from the beginning.
No. I think it's slightly like in music. I think there's some like re-recording Napocronian Descent. I think there's some wisdom in that.
Well, that's like you're not rewriting Napocronian Descent. You're just re-recording it. You know.
Yeah.
It's like
Digitally.
a remaster, not a recreation.
Well, I am editing them. Like Zodon was edited.
Right.
Like but I think
the new Zodon did sound better than the old one. I was very very pleased with the improvement, and I'm still proud of you, and I'm so proud of my little baby boy. Keep up the good work, Zed.
All right, thank you. But yeah, and music, especially if you have like me and have shitty tape deck recording, I think there's some wisdom in re-recording some stuff. But
I can't. You recorded on tape decks for so long. What is wrong with you?
I'm not going into it. I'll tell you off podcast.
I'm a fucking hipster.
Yeah, no, but I think in writing especially, God, who's the author? Bukowski, I think. Are you familiar?
I've heard the name. What did he write?
Let's Google him. He was a German-born American poet, novelist, and short story writer. His writing was influenced by the social, culture, and economic ambience of his home city in L.A. So, excuse me.
Charles
He would
Bukowski.
write.
Oh, you sent me a thing of like this guy talking and being really edgy for a second.
Yeah, that's him. And he talked about he would write 3 or 4 times a week, and he never looked back. Like when it was done, moving forward. Like
Okay,
there's
well,
no reason to look back because it's just dead at
that's
that
too
point.
far over the fence. Like there's a middle ground. Don't remake your stuff, but proofread and edit it. Like fuck you, Charles Bukowski, you edgy Chunibyo. Fuck you.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, you died of leukemia. I'm looking at the Wikipedia. Sorry about that, bro. Fuck you.
Yeah, I certainly think. Of course, you got to edit things and get it ready for the public, but to go back and redo the writing, especially, it seems.
Yeah. So he's just he's a good example of the extreme on the other side of what we're talking about. Very cool.
I think something really worth mentioning is Dungeons and Dragons in this, because they've had multiple editions come out, and what they do is they look at the world they've built, the rules and everything and the laws, and they say, okay, we don't like this, let's redo it and change it in the next edition. And it's essentially like patching it, but and it's always been very hit and miss. Like, they'll remove just legions and legions of monsters in favor of new ones or what they perceive as better ones.
Right.
And occasionally, like, fourth edition is notoriously horrible, you know? So they just screw with the canon.
Yeah.
But I think it's a money racket, of course.
Oh, well, everything is.
But at the same time, I think that could be considered an example of going back and, you know, changing and fixing.
Yeah.
Especially since I write those books myself, the fantasy role-playing games. Just different editions, but I think removing is foolish. Because
unless there's a major problem with something. I've only dipped my toes into D&D a little bit. I did explore it a good bit in that campaign I tried to do with my buddies that ended up falling through because everybody was busy. But I explored a lot of it then, and I don't know. I guess that's a game. The point with that was I can't say if there was anything removed because I don't know that was like a major problem. But I agree. It's like, if you're gonna take something out, it should definitely serve a purpose, like because it conflicts with something you added in, which is easier to do in the rules of a game. Like, instead of retconning. That's why in writing you should definitely have everything kind of at least outlined from the very beginning. You should know where you're stopping, because if you don't, then you'll add something on, and it'll accidentally contradict something you have already shown to the audience. And you can't just go write that out. You've got to just say it didn't actually happen and create a retcon, and retcons are the worst thing ever.
I hate retcons. Especially, like movies, holy crap. Like the new Halloween.
Were you into the Avatar cartoon, The Last Airbender?
Yeah, I watched all of it.
Yeah, I loved it. And rewatch it as an adult, because the world building and characterization in that show is actually fantastic. And the Legend of Korra, which is a sequel to that, is absolute dog shit, and it retcons everything.
I got through, I think 2 episodes. I
watched the entire first season, and and then a little bit of the second season, and then they went into the origin story of like the first Avatar or whatever, and I'm like just in your face, like I haven't watched this show in a few years, but I can understand from watching this one episode that you have completely negated the point of The Last Airbender ever having existed. This is just a complete contradiction to everything you've said before. Like,
yeah, I couldn't sit through it. I think what really killed it for me was the city. It just
the fucking 1920s flapper city. Like, that's interesting, but like, if you want to do a setting like that, build a new world, make a new show.
Yeah, and like the fact that like, oh, I'm X's granddaughter, and like it's
all fan service, man.
Yeah, like it worked in JoJo.
Still haven't got into JoJo, but the point of JoJo is the fact that they're all a continuous line, right? So
it's a bloodline.
Right.
It worked for them, but in Avatar it just was really bad. You know what has really good world building, and you're gonna laugh at me?
Hit me.
The 1980s made for small children He-Man cartoon.
I'm not gonna laugh at you. Like, I've seen snippets of some of like He-Man. I never watched He-Man, but I've seen snippets of it, and I'm like, wow, I wonder, there must be a reason for this building or those people that look like that. What the fuck? Why is that guy a skeleton? And I have like thought about it, like that. There's probably interesting stuff going on behind that.
Yeah, it's like it's my guilty pleasure to watch it on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And I watch, it's like, this is the orb of, like, I can't remember the name of it, but it, like, made people no longer exist. It wasn't an orb, it was a diamond that made people no longer exist.
Are you talking about Thanos from the new Avengers movie?
No.
Spider-Man.
And, he, and, like, they would go into this really deep lore about it, and they'd go crazy with it with the magic, and they have, like, alternate timelines, and they go in the future, go in the past, and it's just so damn good.
The best kind of deep lore is the deep lore you barely explain.
Yeah.
I want so much left unanswered. Mm-hmm. Suspension of disbelief is how you treat your audience. You do not ever lay all your cards on the table. Like, I get some world builders like, oh, I'm so, like, proud of this world I crafted. I want people to be able to experience it in its fullest. Like, but you don't get to experience this world in its fullest. That's, you know, you get to see what you see and infer the rest based on that. And this was a big problem in the Elder Scrolls. I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, but, like, it doesn't have, it does have to do with the lore building, world building, but the suspension of disbelief surrounding, like, the Daedra specifically.
Yes.
Like, in Oblivion, you talked to a few Daedra through magic statues, and that was a little bit like, oh, you just sound like a talking person, but I can still believe you're this all-powerful entity from another world because you've got to talk to me through the statue and all. And then in Skyrim, like, I just met Sanguine in a bar. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wait, you're a Daedric guy? He just looked like a Dremora, and he had the regular guy character animation of just standing there with his hands on his hips. I'm like, no. You're not Sanguine. Get out. You're not a Daedric god. Get out.
ESO's a lot like that. They throw a Daedra at you left and right. I think the exception to that is, of course, Sheogorath. More everywhere, please.
I think that was the point. Sheogorath was just a dude sitting there, but that was like...
well, he's a trickster god.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. He's the juxtaposition is his thing. And it's like the juxtaposition of, yeah, I'm that god. Come have a seat. Like, that was kind of... It played into his character.
Love him.
I love shit. I agree. The Shivering Isles DLC from Oblivion. Great.
Not played Oblivion.
You've not played Oblivion?
Mm-mm.
Dude, I love it. It's a way better role-playing experience than Skyrim, in my opinion.
I used to have an Xbox vanilla copy, but I ended up trading it off. Because I kept telling myself I'm going to buy a PC copy for the modding community. I just never did.
Yeah, just do it. It's pretty cheap.
I
bought it recently for my PC, which can actually run it on lower settings with a couple of mods. And runs fine. I think it was only like $20 from the official website or something.
Yeah.
So
I'd get it on GOG personally, but that's a tangent I'm not getting into.
Yeah, we talked about GOG earlier.
Yes.
This video is sponsored by GOG. No, but...
yeah. This video is not sponsored by GOG.
Not sponsored by GOG.
Absolutely
but
not.
The suspension of disbelief, like, tease your audience. Make some deep lore, and then keep it a secret. That's how you do world building. Like, give me a taste, and then, like, don't explain it, because then I'll be satisfied and I will leave.
Yes. I think, like, I know for a lot of video games and stuff like MMOs, they take and they tease you and they slowly build it up, slowly. Then, like, 2 years later on X expansion, they're like, oh, this is it.
Here it is. A little bit underwhelming.
I don't know. I think it's a good way to do it.
Are you talking about the Patriots from Metal Gear Solid? It totally lived up to the hype.
I've never played Metal Gear either.
Jeez, man. You were ragging on me for not consuming, like, enough media earlier. It's like, wow, how have you never seen X or whatever, and you haven't even played Metal Gear Solid.
I'm more of a Thief and Dishonored type of stealth player.
The Metal Gear Solid games are iconic, and while you can argue that they are terribly written, somehow they're one of the best pieces of media ever created, and you have to experience it to understand that. Like, just come up to my place for like a week. Like, I'll take a week off work, and we will just sit in my living room and speed run all 5 Metal Gear Solid games.
That I have 1 and 5. I have a hard copy of 1.
Oh, and you have 5 too?
For Xbox One. I
cool.
got it at a. I didn't get it for me, but I got it at a pawn shop for like $10.
Sexual.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have Metal Gear Solid 4 anymore. Because it was a PS3 exclusive, and I don't have a PS3.
I
bought it. I bought the PS3 copy, and I went up to my buddy Caleb, who has a PS3, and I was like, "Listen, let me borrow your PS3 to play this game, and in return, I will give you the game when I return your PS3 to you, so I don't have the game or the means to play it anymore."
I got my PS3 for like $40 off a guy, and it's now an overglorified PS1. That's if you want to talk about fantasy world building, Japan on the PlayStation 1, just all of Japan.
Back in the
so
day,
inspired.
In the PS1 days, I didn't have access to like Japanese. Like, I wasn't a weeb yet. I didn't know what an anime was. What's a Japan? What? So yeah, in my house for the PS1, we had stuff like Driver and Resident Evil and Spyro, all Western made stuff that my family could understand enough to quantify buying for us.
Yeah. Dude, Square Enix on the PS1. Just most of those, if you find yourself with a PS3, or, I do not condone emulation because it is illegal. But
sure,
if you have the disc, it becomes a little grayer.
It becomes a little bit grayer.
Yeah.
This video is sponsored by piracy.
I do not condone piracy at all.
No.
But seriously,
whatever. This video is sponsored by Monkey D. Luffy, King of the Pirates. This video is sponsored by Jack Sparrow.
Yeah. I got a PS3. I have Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9. I got Threads of Fate, all Square Enix. I used to have Vagrant
Square
Story,
Enix made Final Fantasy 7?
Yeah.
No way.
Oh, smart
you mean
ass.
Thanos from the new Avengers movie?
I'm so excited for the Avengers episode podcast because I want to tear into Marvel so bad.
Me too.
Disney. I want to tear into Disney. I love Marvel.
Yeah.
I love pre-Disney Marvel, and I just want to shred Disney, and I'm so excited to shred Disney.
I liked the first gen Marvel movies where they were just exploring these superheroes for the first time. But please stop there. Like, we'll talk about it on that episode.
You want to make it next episode? You seem excited, and I'm excited.
It needs more build up, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
This episode. Oh, one more thing I want to say on He-Man, actually.
Sure.
They were very transparent with all the world building because it was meant for little children.
Right.
And they would always do the little lesson at the end, like, always eat your vegetables, kids.
Always eat remember, if you don't eat your vegetables, the Gog Magogs from the 17th planet and always eat your vegetables, kids.
But it's Eternia. It's such a well-developed world, and it's like...
Is that what it's called, Eternia?
It's the planet of Eternia, and it's just this beautifully crafted world used to sell toys and cartoon for children.
Dope. Everything back in that day was used to sell toys, though. It's like
yeah, that's true.
I think that's very much a thing in the anime community. That's like why Gundam is a thing, so they can sell robot toys. And
Yu-Gi-Oh.
I'm assuming you've seen Cowboy Bebop.
I watched episode 1.
It's good. Like, watch all of Cowboy Bebop. But that was a great opportunity for. I think what happened was like the studio had some budget or whatever, and there was this anime director who had he works on whatever he can and makes stuff, and I think basically like the idea was like he had gained enough clout where the studio was like, all right, you know what, make whatever you want as long as it's got some spaceships in it that we can sell toys of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cowboy Bebop was supposed to, like, even though it's like this artsy thing that's very cool and very well written and it's got this cult following and people love it so much, like it spawned from that. So it's that culture did still put out, it wasn't a complete cash grab because there were still people working on it who were passionate about the writing process and the lore and the world building.
Yes.
We're missing that now. It's all cash grab and no passion.
Yeah. Evangelion. How could I not? I got to bring up Evangelion.
Yes, of course. The
it goes
complete
back,
satire of that whole concept we were just talking about. The what's the word I'm looking for? What
I think. But Evangelion...
Marketization of media?
Monetization.
Thank you.
Yes.
The monetization and,
Yeah.
Of media, Evangelion, like Hideaki Anno was like, fuck you.
But
fuck you for like an anime girls. Here's some psychological bullshit that I'm sad.
Like, Evangelion's such a great example of having this well-developed world... and then only giving you snippets of it, like in order to get the full story.
Yeah. Like I had to read the wiki. I had to watch Evangelion twice, and then go read the wiki to find out what the fuck was happening.
I don't mean to brag or anything, but I have all the manga.
Isn't the manga shit?
I've not read it yet.
I feel like I've heard it's shit. Is it just a mangatization of the show, like one for one?
No. So the problem. I mean, first of all, there's like several offshoots of it.
Right. I know there's a manga where they like go to school, and it's just like because that sells for some reason.
Yeah, the problem with
I'm pretty sure Hideaki Anno was like very against that idea, though, of like monetization and like selling, like, oh, these cute anime girls. Like, of course, his thing contained cute anime girls, but that like wasn't his intention. Like, he didn't design those characters. And like he hates that whole culture, and now it's like, oh, here's my Rei Ayanami bunny suit figurine. Like,
yeah,
I wonder what he thinks.
It's so depressing, but like the manga itself, like the good line of it, the story is like a mixture between the rebuild and the original.
I haven't seen the rebuilds because, like, why the fuck would I?
They're good.
Are they?
Yeah, they're like the rebuild goes more along with the manga. In many cases, from what I can tell, I've not read it yet.
But the manga wasn't the OG. Wasn't it? No, the anime was the first thing.
Oh, okay, then I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's original anime production. It's most things are manga adaptations, but no, Evangelion was a completely original show. The manga was made afterwards. Same with Gurren Lagann. Everybody go watch Gurren Lagann, the greatest show ever made.
It's on Netflix, and I don't watch it out of spite for you.
When you finally get around to watching it, you'll love it.
Probably will.
It completely shaped my life. Thank you.
Did it?
Yeah. A lot of my growth. Like, of course, it wasn't the driving force behind everything, but it taught me a very important lessons that it coincides a lot with how I identify like my persona and like my ideals. It helped me realize like what my ideals were about, like fucking ideals of perseverance and striving for the next step, things like that.
Yes. Yeah, I can dig it. I don't think there's any like world that's done that for me though. Like,
well, with Gurren Lagann, it wasn't. That's not. We're not on the subject of world building with Gurren Lagann. Gurren Lagann is a character-driven show.
Yeah. Well, I've never.
Which has some deep lore, but doesn't explore world building on like a geographical and cultural kind of way too much. There is deep lore, but like you get little snippets of it, but mostly it's about characters and conflicting ideologies.
Yes. Like, I've seen trailers for it, and it just looks like tits and testosterone, you know?
That's how they sold it.
Okay.
And the testosterone is very much a driving... I'll spoil a little bit of it for you there. But, like, you learn this pretty early on. Like, the main concept in Gurren Lagann is the idea of spiral power,
mm-hmm.
which is a symbolism for human evolution and human capabilities.
Yes.
Like, it's a symbol. Like, the drill is a symbol. DNA is a spiral shape. Galaxies are a spiral shape. And that's all, like... They say that before they figure out what spiral power is and they don't know what they're doing, they call it fighting spirit.
Yes.
But, yeah, that's the theme of the show. You've got to have your fighting spirit and always reach for the top. And, like, the tits are there to serve a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Because like testosterone and libido tie into that idea of spiral power, and it's like the robots in the show aren't powered by electricity, they're powered by spiral power. So the more pumped up you get, the more power you can put into your robot. And there's even one scene where the main character like looks at the main girl's tits, and like
mm-hmm.
he can't get his robot to turn on because he's not sure of himself. And he's like, oh, why isn't it working? And then she comes by with her tits and it turns on.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's way deeper than it seems on a surface level, and I suggest watching it to completion at least 5 times.
You know, I think Evangelion did that better just from listening to it. I like darker
Evangelion
themes, though.
didn't do it better. Like it was just darker. Evangelion and Gurren Lagann are similar shows about mech fighting and character-driven things, but trying to do 2 very different things, I think.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I guess Evangelion just speaks to your psyche better than Gurren Lagann would.
I adored it so much. It's one of the few animes I've sat through where I'm like...
I'm looking at my End of Eva poster I've got right now. I've got a big one up on the wall.
Ooh, how much do you want for that?
I might be willing... Because I like Eva a lot. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I like it that much. I ordered a small poster, and they sent me a really, really big one.
Oh, God. How much do you want for that? I'm serious.
We'll talk about it post-podcast.
Okay. Yeah. I may edit that out. Who knows?
Dude, whatever. Fuck it.
We're at the hour point. People have clicked away.
Yeah. I don't know. We started talking about anime. We're going to reach the anime YouTube community now. We got that. I think this... I don't care to say we recorded an episode earlier today that we ended up scrapping for audio issues.
Yes.
But this is a much more respectable thing to put out there.
I certainly like this direction more, where we talk about writing and media and breaking it down.
Yeah,
and
me too. It's very much helping me flex my creative muscle. Like it was fun to talk about bullshit earlier, but
yes,
talking about something that is important and like that I need to work on. I feel like a large part of me getting into like trying to like do podcasts and talk online is serves many purposes, but one of them is trying to make myself smart again, because I feel like I keep getting dumber because I'm not using my brain as much as I should be, and this is a good way to keep my mind sharp, I think, and I feel like I am achieving that goal right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can certainly understand where you're coming from with that. I need to stop saying Episode 2, I'm gonna make it a point to not say once. But I've always found that to be so.
I don't care as long as you're not like saying it too much.
Yeah.
Have you ever listened to one of Obama's speeches?
Yeah.
Whatever you think about the guy, I don't care, but he says a lot.
Yeah. He does. Yeah, that's
Evangelion.
I would love
favorite anime. Did you see where he went to Poland and they gave him a copy of The Witcher 3?
Did they really?
Yeah, he went to visit because that's the biggest thing Poland's put out there. So Obama went to Poland and they handed him a copy of The Witcher 3 when he went to speak to the Polish people or whatever, and he was like, "Oh, this video game, The Witcher 3, is a great example of Poland's place in the global economy." And everyone's like, "Yay, Obama likes our video game."
I expect Ireland to start pumping out some great games soon.
Ireland?
You know who went over there to start working with their industry?
No.
John Romero.
Remind me what he has done.
He made the first Wolfenstein, the first two Dooms, Quake.
Dude. Okay, so a OG boy.
Yeah, he invented the first-person shooter, and he went to Ireland to help their game industry.
Of a struggling industry, I guess, because I've never heard of a game out of Ireland.
It'd be like
it would be interesting to see. Like, we definitely need new perspectives. The Witcher 3 was so popular based on, it came from Polish people who've got Polish folklore, and that's cool. I don't know if Cyberpunk 2070, what is it? Is it 2077? Cyberpunk. Yeah, I don't know if it'll. I think CD Projekt Red is like a lot of people were wary of it because of that very fact. Like, what The Witcher 3 had that unique Polishness to lean back on, but this Cyberpunk series isn't. But I forget what it was, but it seems like they're actually going to do pretty well with it.
I've read the Witcher books.
Knock on wood.
Well,
I read the first one and I liked it, but
did you read Blood of Elves or?
No, it was The Last Wish.
Okay, yeah. So you read the first one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've read that one to its completion. It's good.
You have conflicting feelings about it, I'm taking it?
But it's not amazing.
No, I feel exactly the same way. And because it's just a collection of Witcherisms, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Does the first book tell a concise story from start to finish?
It does.
Okay.
I was never able to finish it. I got bored 3/4 of the way through. Like, I actually set it out, and I'm gonna force myself to finish it because I want to give it a fair shot.
I stopped reading the first book halfway through, also because I don't know. I feel like there are a lot of translation issues with it being, Polish to English and whatever.
That's
Maybe
very
I just
true.
don't understand how conversation is supposed to flow. But there was a point where Geralt, spoilers for the Witcher book, fuck it, whatever. There's a point where Geralt meets this wizard he used to know or whatever, and they have conflicting opinions, and they just sit there and argue for a minute about, hey, I'm right and you're wrong about this X thing, and it was. God, I was just like, this is a cringy argument I'm listening to. Nobody is giving any evidence. They're just stating their opinion back and forth. And it's such a checkmate atheist kind of argument that I just don't want to read this, and I hate you. Androv, however the fuck I pronounce your name, Sapkowski or whatever. I never figured out how to say it.
Did you know?
I went back and I finished reading it later after I'd cooled down from that, and it was not the worst.
I feel like the book really picked up when Dandelion walked into the picture.
Oh my god, Dandelion. God, are they... They're changing his name back to the original Polish name, whatever it was, when they make the Netflix series.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Because
Dandelion is such a weird name, but I'm assuming it's because his original Polish name was just the Polish word for dandelion.
Probably.
And naming him Dandelion expresses to a Western audience what the Polish audience was supposed to understand from his name, so it makes sense to change it. But I guess it's just purists who are pushing too much.
Yeah, I have high hopes for the Netflix series. I mean, they did Castlevania correctly, so they instantly broke the video game curse. Which, you've seen Castlevania, yes?
Not yet.
Oh, it's 4 episodes, 20 minutes an episode. They're
only 4 episodes? Shit.
Yeah, and they're going to release 8 more very soon. I guess I've really got no
excuse.
Yeah. They're releasing 8 more very soon.
Okay.
Honestly, if I'd wait till they released the 8 more. Just binge it.
Yeah, I guess. Why not? That seems like a good time to jump in.
Yeah.
People are going to be talking about it online. I'll be able to be a part of the conversation.
Yeah, like it had such a strong impact on me that I've openly said at this point the things that I watch is just filler for the next Castlevania series.
Damn.
Yep. It was that good in my eyes.
You know me as a visual artist. I'll be roasting the animation value the whole time, though.
It's good.
We'll see.
It's a blend of Western and Eastern. It's like American anime, kinda.
Yeah, I don't much care for that. But there was one coming out that I was really excited for. A Netflix original called The Dragon Prince.
I've not looked at it.
And it's Aaron Ehas, the good writer from The Last Airbender that left the show so that the other two guys could turn The Legend of Korra into a steaming pile of dog shit.
Yes.
But this guy was the good writer who made all the episodes good. And it came out like, oh, he's making his own show and it's going to be a high fantasy show. And I was like, I am so ready for this. And then they showed the trailer for it like a week later, and it's that shitty low frame rate CGI cell shaded 3D anime bullshit that looks like trash. And I'm going to watch the show to support this writer. But that was such a poor visual choice on Netflix's end that you're going to lose so much viewership because it looks like horse shit, and this guy's not going to get the reach he deserves.
Have you seen the animation style of Castlevania at all?
Maybe a little bit in the trailers.
Okay.
I really don't know too much. I've seen like the still images, and I'm like, yeah, the art looks good, but how does it move?
Yeah. It's actually really good. Like, I don't have any complaints about it. I couldn't complain about it like you can, certainly.
Yeah, I'm more of a critic when it comes to visuals.
Okay, so you may not have caught it yet, and nobody's talking about it, but I found out that at the end of the Teen Titans Go movie,
I heard about it. Yeah, a lot of people were talking about it on Twitter.
So like season 6 of Teen Titans,
we found a way back.
I'm so stoked.
It's probably going to be a little... Just like, the only problem with the old Teen Titans was that it didn't get a proper send-off. Like, I don't think the show needs to come back and, like, continue. It just needs to find a good place to end. Like, they should do with Teen Titans what they did with Samurai Jack. They brought Samurai Jack back just to have a good ending.
Yeah. Well, like, the Teen Titans had a good ending... And then they brought back Terra. Yeah, it ended...
that's right. Like, I was talking about the actual ending. I agree they should have just ended it, and then it's ended now. Thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, they bringing it back for a season. Like, let me think. So they did a season on Robin. They did a season on Raven. They did a season on Beast Boy. I think the only one that didn't have a major story arc was Starfire. So if they do a season 6 and...
Did Starfire have... Well, she had that episode where her sister comes to Earth, and then one where she has to go back to Temeria to get married.
She got an occasional episode, but she never had long story arc.
I don't think Cyborg had his... Well...
He didn't
have an origin story arc.
No, but he had a story arc with like...
With the Hive?
Yes, the Hive.
Yeah.
So he got more than Raven. Or not Raven, but Starfire. He got more than Starfire. So I think if season 6 gave some love to that Terra issue, gave Starfire a bit of a story, and then wrapped it up properly, I think we could all go home and be happy.
Starfire is best girl anyway, so I'd love to see something focused around her, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, Raven. I've always...
Ooh. Okay, next episode, Starfire versus Raven.
Raven.
Who's best girl?
Have you seen the live-action trailer?
What?
Yeah, they're doing a live-action Teen Titans.
Oh, no. Is it... It's probably kind of a different... It's AU, right?
It's edgy. like the Robin jumped down and beat the crap out of some people, and they're like, "Where's Batman?" And he's like, "Fuck Batman."
Oh, I think I heard about that. Yeah, and I just fuck Batman.
Excuse me?
I'm not my dad.
Yeah, teen. I don't know. It's whatever. I mean, you can be nostalgic about something and then criticize every other version, and it's
Hmm.
so hard to break away from that or catch yourself. I think.
I think the problem with that is, let's stop making different versions of stuff. Like, just make something and then it's there, and let's make something else now.
I think. So my big argument for that is, a lot of this crap is marketed towards children, and we're not children anymore. And when they
No,
remake
it's not
it,
marketed towards children's ed. It's marketed towards young adults trying to live off their childish nostalgia.
I mean,
Who have children now who they can take to also enjoy it.
I think, but like stuff like the She-Ra thing on Twitter recently.
I was gonna ask you about the She-Ra. How do you feel about the new She-Ra show since you were a He-Man fan?
Okay, so my entire thing is, I don't care about the sexualization arguments. I don't care about any of the arguments that were presented. I
Right.
could give a flying fuck less. My argument is, why is it that Eternia, a planet of barbarians, why do the characters look 15? When they're supposed to be barbarians according to the lore. That's it. That's all.
Because it's back to school time. Hello.
That's my entire question. That's all I want to know. Why do they look 15?
Because like the people making remakes don't care as much about the original deep lore as the people who created it. They just want to cash in on it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably it.
Yeah.
It's.
And
I mean,
I don't know, like, what was, I'm assuming the arguments surrounding the new She-Ra thing were about like feminism and like gender equality and all that.
yeah, it's like it was. Oh, they ruined She-Ra. It's not made for you just because you can't jerk off to She-Ra, and it was just back and forth like that. And me.
Oh, is it like they made her design less sexual?
Yeah, it's like the original She-Ra was a product of the 1980s. Yes, she was
Right.
very sexualized, but then again, so
Wasn't
was
He-Man also? Yeah.
Yeah, they were barbarians. It was all about,
Yeah.
and
But
they-
I mean, is She-Ra a kid in the new one? Are they making a
okay, I will
kids
send you.
version?
I will
Like,
send you. An
I've
image
seen
of,
like pictures and art of it. It looks like she's much younger, but like still dressed like the adult She-Ra or whatever.
yeah, like the adult She-Ra looked like this.
Let me.
I'll send you an
see.
image. Keep it nice and simple. Like
Okay.
she looked like that, and she looks 30, but where she's got the cleavage, that became the argument, which was such a back and forth petty argument. But I'm like, why does everybody on Eternia suddenly look 15? That's my entire thing. I'm gonna give.
Look at that dude over on the right. He's got some side boob going on. Like,
Yeah,
it's just like everybody was scarcely dressed because they are
Mhm.
barbarians. I agree.
yeah, and it's whatever. Like they said, it's not made for me. It's made for little girls. But I'm an Eternia fan, so I'm gonna give it a shot, and I may love it. But that's all I
Right.
have to say about it. It's a planet of barbarians, and they look 15. Whatever.
Rest in peace.
Yeah. Fucking She-Ra deserves a reboot, and if it makes a billion little girls happy around the world, I can't complain about it. Especially not as a grown ass
guess.
man.
It just like. It contributes to this overarching problem of just like cashing in on older media.
IPs.
Like,
Yeah.
like make something for little girls. Sure, they need something. They need a She-Ra, but like, give them a new one. Just make something new for the sake of itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
We'll talk about that plenty in the Marvel episode. That's the whole problem.
Mm-hmm. Why reboot Thundercats?
Oh my god. Well, the first Thundercats reboot was very artfully done. It just couldn't gain enough marketable traction to keep going. And then like the new Thundercats remake that's about to come out is just pure marketing.
Yeah, it's like ooh woo Thundercats XD.
Yeah.
It's
Ooh, Thundercats. It's literally Teen Titans Go.
yeah, raw XD Thundercats.
Yeah. It's Roar is right on the nose. The show is literally called Thundercats Roar.
Yeah, RAWR.
Yeah, Thundercats Roar. Thundercats, oh, whoa, what's this?
Yes, I got you to say, ooh, what's this? This whole podcast, it was just one big trick to get you to say that.
Curse you, Zed Dalen.
I'll tell you, the secret to being a trickster god mastermind is to take credit for crap that you had no part in.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Every good magician throughout history was actually just some bullshitter.
Yeah, that's how I get by. That's how they call me a trickster mastermind, but I'm just taking credit for crap.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
We got away from world building. Should we have we any more to say about that?
I think we talked about our own experiences with world building and how we go about it and how it works in popular media. And then we didn't
talk too far in depth about it, but I guess there's just not time for all that.
I think it's fine. We covered everything we really needed to cover, and then we got off on a tangent, and it felt really organic and fun. And I think the listeners will enjoy it. And if they don't, they're more than welcome to stop.
If they don't, fuck them.
If they don't, they're more than welcome to stop at the end of the world building. And next week's episode, hopefully, will be more on topic because we are new to this and we're just testing the waters and we're having fun with it. You know, there's no.
And what is next week's topic, Zed?
It's your turn to pick.
Yeah. Do you want to just go with the one I suggested earlier, currency?
Yeah, we will be talking about currency.
Currency, the concept of currency. Talking about that green. Talking about that. Talking about that crypto. Get that mad crypto, dog.
That Bitcoin.
I definitely will have a lot to say. I'm going to research it, do some reading and make sure I've got actual points. Like, I can articulate what I want to say about it. But I hate the concept of currency, being, having no physical backing anymore.
Yeah. It's weird. I'm excited to talk about it. We can complain about it and talk about it and then eventually devolve it into Spider-Man. It'll be fun. Okay, so as proof that you made it to the end of the video, in the comment section, I would like for you to place the numbers 3581. That is 3581 in the comment section as proof that you made it to the end. Leave a like and a comment, and don't forget to subscribe, and we love you. That is 3581.
That number thing, man, that's a very unique bit. Where'd you get that idea?
Oh, man. Oh, it just comes to me.
It just comes to you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it just comes to me.
All right.
You gotta take credit.
To you in my fucking fist.
No, we made it through this entire thing without introducing ourselves.
I tried to at the beginning, and you just jumped right into it. But that was probably a good way to do it. I am gravelly voice. You are other voice. So
yes. So,
my name is Trent. I go by Kingpin T on most social media sites. Call me T.
I am the one and only Zed Dalen. Z-D-A-L.
The man who needs no introduction.
That is Z-E-D-D-A-L-A-N. What about that Italian guy stealing my name? I'm still mad about that.
What was up with that? What was he, some SoundCloud rapper or something?
I don't know what he was. But, just somebody going by Zed Dalen on...
Dude, it could be the case that somebody just is actually named Zed Dalen from birth. Hello?
We'll have to fight to the death. There's no options.
Rest in peace. One of two Zed Dalens.
Yeah, but I'm the coolest.
You decide. If this video gets 5 likes, next episode, Zed Dalen versus Zed Dalen Deathmatch Arena Battle.
Yeah, Battle Royale, Zed Dalen.
Fortnite. Are you talking about Thanos from the new Avengers movie? John Wick.
The whole time I was watching the new Avengers, all I could think was, this is Rick and welcome to my pawn shop.
I haven't even watched it. I've heard it's actually almost good.
It's not a bad film. It depends. If you're in love with the Marvel flicks, you'll love it. If you're burned out, you'll be like, yeah, that was pretty good.
I mean, the problem with Marvel movies is the whole spectrum. Like, I'm sure some of the movies as standalones are not poorly made, but
it's a plug and play formula we're all burned out on.
Yeah. Superhero movies need to die and give way to a new popular genre.
Did you watch that video I shared on Facebook? I feel like I think you liked it.
Yeah, I did. The one about Logan. Yeah, I agreed with pretty much all the points that guy had to make about it.
Yeah, Logan was a masterpiece.
I really enjoyed it. Somebody told me like months later at work, like some fucking really deep lore Marvel weeaboo was like, no, dude, he doesn't die. He just goes into a coma to heal himself. He'll be back. And I'm like, no. I want him to die. I want a sense of finality. Please give me this sense of finality.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Deadpool, in this Deadpool comic I have, there's this really great quote. It's Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, and when he goes to kill Wolverine, as he's killing him, he says, it's not your powers that bring you back. It's popularity.
Dude. Is Deadpool versus the Marvel Universe? That's the one. I remember you talking at length about that, like the first time we started hanging out again after we hadn't talked in 5 years or whatever, and we went to that Ryan's.
Yeah.
The whole time you were talking about that comic book, and I was like, I was sitting there like, man, Zed's a weirdo. Why am I trying to rekindle a friendship with this guy? He's so. I'm never talking to this dude again.
I'll if you want me to, I can bring it to you to read.
I'm not that into Western comic books, especially superhero stuff. Like, fuck it.
All right, fine. You want to kill the audio, the recording?
Yeah, hold on. We got to do an outro.
Yeah, let's do an outro. This is the ClapTrap podcast, episode 1.5. Next week we'll be talking about currency, kind of. Hopefully we can stay on topic.
We'll digress. There's no way around it.
Yeah, I know. It's just our nature. But thank you if you've made it this far. Seriously, it means the world to us.
This has been ClapTrap. Fuck you and good night.